basically being reliant on Scientology for your sanity. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Mangotology. So for today's video, I wanted to discuss with you Scientology's stance on mental health, their anti-psychiatry stance, and how Scientology is very damaging to your mental health. And I decided to make this video because I did post a mental breakdown video about a week or two ago when I was going through a really tough time. And I know that there's a stigma around mental health, and especially with Scientology, one of their primary tenets and beliefs and principles is anti-psychiatry, and Scientology has the answers to mental health.
To break the dark spell cast across Earth by psychiatry.
So I wanted to discuss with you guys a little bit about that and about my personal experiences with that and why I feel that Scientology is very dangerous to a person's mental health. But before I discuss that, I did want to let you guys know that I have a Patreon page. Patreon.com/StephenMango. And basically what Patreon allows you to do as my viewer and subscriber is to be able to leave a monthly pledge on my channel. And as one guy with a camera in my office room, I want to be able to continue to make really awesome content. I'm one person going up against a worldwide criminal organization, which is the Church of Scientology. And I have really big plans this year to take down Scientology, and I need your help. And for basically the price of a cup of coffee or two per month, you're able to help me be able to continue to release my content. So for my Patreon subscribers, I've been putting together some really cool packages for you. As you can see here, I have autographed headshots I've personalized to my current Patreon subscribers, as well as personalized letters. You guys have also been wanting copies of my Way to Happiness booklet with my face on them. So for some of my Patreon subscribers, I have been signing and sending out those in the mail to you, as well as you can see here some personalized copies of L. Ron Hubbard's basic books I have signed and have mailed off to some of my current Patreon subscribers. So just a little sneak peek of some of the rewards that I have been offering. And for a limited time only, Jeff is also autographing headshots to my Patreon subscribers. So if you'd like an autographed headshot from Jeff
from 40 years ago,
Jeff will also be autographing his headshots along with our packages. As you can see here, Jeff is autographing one of his old acting headshots to one of my Patreon subscribers, Robert. And if you want one, it's limited edition this month if you become a Patreon subscriber. If you're interested, if you're able to help, the link is going to be down in the description box below. So when I got into Scientology, I never really saw a therapist or never actually had any form of mental health treatment or counseling. I was depressed growing up. I was severely bullied. If you guys are interested in learning more about my personal stories with that, it's on my second channel. I will link that down below as well. I do tell some of my personal stories about being bullied, as well as kind of what it was like growing up for me. And it was really difficult, but I never was sent to therapy about it, but I was always struggling with anxiety, depression, my life's purpose, and all that sort of stuff. And I still basically am. But growing up as a teenager, I didn't have any mental health counseling or treatment for some of the different stuff that I was going through. So when I got to LA, I got into Scientology after 2 months of being in LA. Now I'm 18 years old, I'm a kid, I'm very impressionable, and I was looking for something to believe in. I was looking for something to give me my purpose, whether it was almost like a guide map. And that's what Scientology has, like their bridge to total freedom. You go step by step by step up this bridge to total freedom, and it's a very laid out, clear, concise path. And for me, I always felt so lost in my life. I didn't really know the direction I was going in, who I was. I knew I wanted to be an actor, but is that really who I was, like at my core? I wanted to understand more about myself. And Scientology was promising that they had all the answers to be able to help me discover who I was as a person. So for me, that was like really exciting. It was really enticing for me. Like I was on this journey in LA for my career, but I was also on this like self-discovery path of finding out who I was as a person. And they show you the testimonials, they show you videos, pictures, whatever. Like especially I was telling the story the other day to someone about the purification rundown and how they promised me that my career would launch after I did the Purif, because that's when you get all the drugs and toxins and chemicals out of your body. So then you have basically a clear mind because you're not fogged up with drugs or chemicals. And that's when you're going to be able to perform and unleash your creativity, because it's not going to be bogged down by, you know, a foggy mind or chemicals or other things that may be affecting you, and you may not even realize that's what it is. Really, you may need an acting class or something to be able to help you with your acting career, but I don't think anyone's really had their career launch after that. And if they did, it's not because of Scientology, unless they starred in a Scientology film or something like that, but that's a whole other thing. So early on, I even remember watching like an IAS event on the computer, like very early on, and they were, talking about like obliterating psychiatry
And that's our 2006 campaign for the global obliteration of psychiatry.
Infiltrating the psychs, and it was very over the top, where any normal person would look at that, be like, oh, that's crazy, why are they going after psychiatrists? But in a Scientologist's mind, you think that Dianetics has the solution and the answers. Now, they have this big stance against psychiatric drugs, against antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicines, anything such as that that's going to alter your brain chemistry or whatever. Scientology believes there's no such thing as like a chemical imbalance. They think that's all like science that's not really science. It's just like these ideas, essentially, because they don't believe that there's any real proof to back it up, and there's no tangible test to be able to say, oh, my brain chemistry's off. There's no specific way, just like drawing your blood, that you're going to be able to tell that, your brain chemistry may be off or whatever. They believe that all your illnesses, all your aches, pains, mental stuff, all of that is psychosomatic.
It is a discovery of Dianetics that all of your painful experiences are stored in a previously unknown part of the mind. It's called the reactive mind.
It's all caused by the mind, because you have two parts of your mind. Your analytical mind, which is like a computer, it's like the rational part of your mind.
Most of this data is stored in your analytical mind, that part of your mind that thinks, remembers, and calculates.
Then you have this part of your mind at the subconscious level. Think about that. There's no way to prove that either, but okay. You have your reactive mind, rather. Your reactive mind has all your fears, pains, upsets in it.
At some point, you've probably gotten sick from eating tainted food. Later in life, if you see or smell or possibly even think about that particular food again, you start to feel a little nauseous. Now, you know that logically, the mere sight or smell or thought of a food can't physically make your body ill, because you haven't actually eaten it again. And yet you're experiencing the same sick feeling you had before. This is your reactive mind.
For example, you get hit by a car when you're a pedestrian. So whenever you start walking across the street, like you jolt because you remember when you were hit by a car.
These recordings form what is called the time track, a consecutive record of all the experiences accumulated throughout your existence.
Now, Scientology says, why would you take medicine about that? When if you go through our form of talk therapy, you can erase the charge or the pain of getting hit by the car as a pedestrian. And then you just have it stored as a memory in your analytical mind. So once you get rid of this reactive mind and it blows to pieces and you're clear and you're this rational being, you're free, And why would you need to take a psychiatric medicine that's just numbing the pain, numbing all your experiences? And some people might think right now, why should you have to take a pill when you can just go to therapy or something? And I agree. Not every circumstance may need a psychiatric drug, for example. In some cases, yes, people who are suicidal, people who are very depressed or can't get out of bed or function, or just daily, you don't want to be depressed moping around all day long. And I get that. There are uses for those type of drugs. But Scientology sees no use. They're basically used to hypnotize you, to keep you in this state of funding these pharmaceutical companies and always being sick and continuously just taking medicine, which is making money to these big pharmaceutical companies. And these companies are implanting psychiatric messages through their marketing messages and stuff. So when you're sitting at home and you're watching TV and you hear an ad and it goes, "Are you depressed? Do you have no purpose in life? Do you have anxiety? Do you have pains and aches that cannot be explained? Maybe you should try Latuga." And you hear these weird commercials, and then it goes, side effects include, da, 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 and the whole litany of all the different side effects. And Scientology says, well, why would you want all those side effects? You know, it's saying, you know, vision issues, you can't operate a motor vehicle, more depression, more suicidal thoughts, and all these different things, when you can work out these problems with the holistic ways such as Dianetics. So that all sounded really good to me. And I really believed in that whole idea. Just explain that I can get rid of my reactive mind, and then I'm a good person that's sane and rational and normal, and then I no longer am depressed. I no longer am shy or anxious or any different things that I felt that held me back in my life, personal or otherwise. I felt that I would then just be my true innate self. And the way Scientology explains things are very, very precise. There's always an answer to everything. There's always a way. L. Ron Hubbard said something that correlates to this or that. And for me, as someone who was still learning critical thinking skills and that sort of stuff, I was just more of a trustworthy person who went off of emotions versus going off of facts necessarily, where I would Google something about psychiatry or any of that. You know what I mean? So when you're in all these different Scientology courses or auditing sessions and stuff, it's made very clear that you are not to take any sort of medicine, even a Tylenol for your headache. You can't take that because a headache may be caused by a misunderstood word in studying Scientology or something else. So you're always looking, what's the misunderstood word? And if you don't want to show up to a course, it's because you, again, might have misunderstood a word. You may have a transgression that you haven't confessed to. There's always an answer. Scientology is never the problem. It's always you. And you're always looking inside yourself and saying, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't Scientology working for me? But eventually, as all my money is being drained from me, I have now been already programmed to believe that any sort of problem I have to solve at Scientology. Someone dies, go in session and run out the loss. You have a problem with communication, do more TRs. You have an issue with a relationship, come in and do counseling. Not in my case because I was gay and I wasn't out to them, but that's another story. Go to my channel if you need more information on that. But yeah, I was fully reliant on Scientology. So again, I couldn't go to a therapist while I was in Scientology because they're considered the enemy, and you truly believe they are trying to keep humankind, our race, our people, are trying to keep us drugged and medicated and not free. And we have the solutions to go free and to go clear and all this sort of stuff. And it all sounds so good. So for me, as I left Scientology, I was scared for a very long time to seek any form of mental health therapy, any form of counseling, anything, because if I went to, say, see a counselor or go to therapy, I would then be risking my spiritual eternity. Even though I left, you still feel like, you know, if I took a psychiatric drug, like maybe Scientology is right. In like my mind, that's what I would think. I never did. I never took any like psych drugs or anything afterwards. But to me, I always felt like, what, you know, would happen to me? Like, is it really true? Like, they brainwash you to such a degree about all of this that you have so much fear that these people are evil, like they're gonna electroshock you and you're gonna be like in handcuffs and they're gonna like zap your brain. They have a museum called the Citizen Commission on Human Rights. It's in Hollywood, and you go through this very scary museum, essentially, that shows you all the different things that psychiatrists have done from the beginning of mankind and how dangerous they are, and they show videos of psychiatrists even saying, like, yeah, we just have no Scientology. They even say, like, we have no scientific proof to back up what we're doing, or we're just trying to make commission off of these drugs we're selling. It was all about showcasing how psychiatrists are the most evil people on mankind. So why would I trust myself while I was in Scientology, for example, to go to a mental health therapist if I was depressed when Scientology is going to be able to help me? It's a more expensive form of psychotherapy, but these are the guys that truly have my back, and they're not going to screw me over. When Scientology is making just as much money, even if, like, say, a psychiatrist was getting a cut from the drug company, how much really is that in comparison to Scientology charging $1,000 an hour for auditing on, like, upper levels? How is it any different what Scientology is doing? They're charging money, just like the psychiatrists are charging money. Only the psychiatrists are probably trying to help you when you have a mental breakdown or you're having a nervous breakdown or something, versus Scientology, which is going to say, oh, you're PTS, you're connected to a suppressive person, and you're going through, and you're basically being reliant on Scientology for your sanity, essentially. So for me, I didn't like anyone having that control over me in my life, but it made it very difficult later on because I wasn't able to get the help I needed to be able to heal from the post-traumatic stress and other stuff I went through with Scientology. Now later on, I did see a cult therapist who I'm not going to name because I can no longer support this cult therapist for various reasons, but I'm not going to get into that. But I went into her cult group, and there were several other ex-Scientologists, and many people terrified, shaking, didn't want to be seen going in the building, going in back entrances, because we all know Scientology follows people, they're very litigious, and we just don't want to break up families or relationships. So a lot of people were scared, especially if they had loved ones or friends that were still involved in the church. But once I actually saw that there was other people going through what I went through, it was very healing. And being able to talk to a therapist, and I've seen other therapists since this one specific one I didn't have a good experience with later, but I basically started to see that they were doing basically what Scientology was doing. You look inside yourself and you brainstorm and work out things. Scientology says that they evaluate and tell you like, oh, like you're like sick, or you're not any good, or this is never going to change. You're always an addict if you're like a drug addict or something. Where Scientology feels like, no, you're not an addict. You are just like stuck in some sort of, trauma, for example. And once you get rid of that, then the addiction goes away. And that's how Scientology views addiction. Scientology has all these different claims and ideas, and look at Johnny Lewis. I was on the pier with his mother, and she was a very high up OT. Same with the dad, same with Johnny. He was doing Scientology courses. He killed his landlady, jumped off the roof, had this whole mental breakdown attack. He was in jail, drugs, all this stuff. Scientology claims that if applied, and when you are a Scientologist or in a Scientology family, then you're not going to have that sort of situation happen, because Scientology is able to help you if you have mental illness or whatever. And it couldn't help someone like that, for example. So, and it's not just that person, for example. There's many people, hundreds if not thousands of people who have had experiences with Scientology that turned out to be not what was claimed or promised or set out. And that's the thing, Scientology is very dangerous on your mental health because you're reliant on someone, which is Scientology, which is the technology of Scientology, and going in session. And you have to always look to Scientology. What's the source? What, the reference for something, so you become reliant on them. They brainwash you to think that mental health professionals, psychiatrists, any of those sort of people are the most evil scum of society. So even after you leave Scientology, or while you're there, you can't seek any form of mental health treatment. So there's that. And then when you leave Scientology, you're so conditioned to believe that these people are trying to harm you or drug you or do something to you under their, therapy spells, that you're afraid to even approach that. After I left Scientology, I had to seek out mental health therapy or go to treatment and that sort of stuff. And I was terrified at the beginning because I really felt like these people were what Scientology said they were. And if you are watching right now and you're afraid to go to, say, therapy, for example, or any of that, there are good therapists as there are bad therapists. There may be some bad people out there, but I think that for the majority of the profession, they want to help you. They want to be able to work out traumas and that sort of stuff, and it's better than suffering alone. It's better to get someone who you can talk to and understand what you're going through. And Scientology is not right on their stance of mental health or psychiatry, and they believe, oh, it's because FDA and mental health did not want Hubbard's technology or any of that sort of stuff, did not want auditing, e-meter, any of that sort of stuff. So Hubbard had basically a all-out war against psychiatry and mental health because he, cherry-picked ideas from Freud and from other people and made his own thing. And they laughed at L. Ron Hubbard and said, who the hell are you? So basically L. Ron Hubbard went on a rampage against mental health professionals. So it's not really because they're not workable with mental health, because like, who the hell is L. Ron Hubbard? He was like some random guy. What does he know more about the human mind? He didn't go on to doctorate level research of the mind. He was just a guy with a typewriter and going off on his little spells of babble and created this technology. So I don't know, guys, what do you guys think about Scientology's stance on mental health professionals and psychiatry and all that sort of stuff? Curious to hear your thoughts. Go down in the comment box down below. Let me know your thoughts. If you also aren't subscribed, go click the subscribe button down below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and for all your love and support. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you guys soon. See you on my next video. Bye, guys.